PS5 Pro already wasn't looking that good. I mean, all the reactions were just like, hey, I can't even tell the difference.
I'm not exaggerating when I say I stared at this image for close to about 10 minutes and I could not pick up on a single difference between the two here.
Okay, yeah, so the hedgerows are clearer. You want better hedgerows? $800, please.
In my last video about the PS5 Pro, I gave you guys like a side-by-side. Most of you guys could tell the difference when I slowed it down and zoomed in, but honestly, if you really didn't have that much analysis to it, I doubt you could tell the difference in quality. Sony's whole pitch about this thing is the big three, you know, whole bigger GPU, the better ray tracing support, and then Pisser, the best upscaler that Sony has ever made, I guess. So that should have made the PS5 Pro so much better than the PS5 Amateur Edition. And on the cherry on top, it is freaking $700 for a Pro console without a disc drive, and you still have to pay another 80 bucks on top of that to get a freaking disc drive. So it's basically an $800 console. And now that the PS5 Pro has been out, we can see some reactions to the console.
The upscaling is doing some work, but I don't know if I'd never seen this.
We're doing side by side because it's fun to play these kinds of games. If it wasn't side by side, I could not tell you which one is which.
I will tell you that playing on a PS5 Pro felt largely indistinguishable from playing on a base PS5, and I spent a lot of time guessing what this system might be able to do in future, rather than really remarking what it could do right now.
I bet you're wondering, how is the situation even worse than we thought before? A bunch of games have been updated to it, and we can see how they actually compare. These games aren't just underwhelming with the differences that are shown, but quite a few of them can genuinely be worse. And I know this. I know this because I've been watching a lot of Digital Foundry videos. As you guys know, they're the kings of analysis, especially on consoles and everything. They've done tons of videos on the PS5 Pro and game comparisons and updates and everything. But I have watched a total of 7 dedicated reviews of games, and I can break it down and basically summarize their videos, because only one of these 7 games was genuinely positive, like an overall better experience on the PS5 Pro, that you weren't making any compromises, and it'd be definitely the best way to play. Only one game, and that game is Stellar Blade. Now, 3 of these games are decent improvements. They're better, but not, oh, I'm gonna go out and buy the PS5 Pro because the game is so much better here. And those games are Spider-Man, The Last of Us Part 1 and 2, I guess you could call that 2 games, and Fortnite. But a lot of the improvements in these games were pretty minor, and I don't think the average person would really be able to tell, especially if you don't have them side by side. One of these games was kind of neutral. Some things were better on it, some things were worse. You're actually making compromises to go to the Pro version. That game is Alan Wake 2. And there's 2 of these games that were genuine downgrades on the PS5 Pro. And those games are Silent Hill 2 and Star Wars Jedi Survivor. The thing is, a lot of these remarks about the games on the PS5 Pro that is kind of mixed, and it might not even be better, or sometimes it's even worse. These are pretty much shared across the board with tons of other reviews. A lot of people can't tell the difference. So I think it's time that we do another little blind test. And for this, I got 8 tests for you. Obviously, they're going to be randomized on which side they're on, so you need to make an educated guess on which side you think is going to be the Amateur Edition and which side is going to be the Pro Edition. First up is going to be Stellar Blade. I did just say that this game does look very different on the Pro one, and it genuinely looks better. Let's go ahead and make your guess here. We're zooming into the footage, and honestly, I think there's a clear difference between these two. Let's make your guess in 3, 2, 1. The right side is the Pro version, and the left side is the Amateur Edition. Let's move on to the next one. Another easy one in Last of Us Part 1. This is going to be the performance modes compared. So go ahead and make your guesses. I think 1 does look better here. There's a lot more detail, at least from what I can make out. But make your guess in 3, 2, 1. The left one is the Pro Edition, and then the right one is the Amateur Edition. And next up we have Silent Hill 2. And this is going to be the quality mode for these, which means it runs at 30 FPS first, and then I'll be showing the performance mode after. Revealing in 3, 2, 1. The left side is the Pro Edition, and then the right side is the Amateur Edition. Did you get it right? And now we have Silent Hill 2, but on the performance mode, which is getting 60 FPS, but has to take advantage of more upscaling in order to do so. So make your guess in 3, 2, 1. The left side is the pro one, and the right side is the amateur one. Again, did I get you on that? Like I kept them the same. Am I crazy here? Doesn't the pro version of this look so much worse? It's crazy. Now here's Alan Wake 2 on the performance mode, and you can see probably some differences here. It's just standing still between these two modes. The main difference here is going to be the upscaling. Revealing in 3, 2, 1. The left side is the amateur one. I got you there. And then the right side is the pro version. Did you get that one right? Now let's go ahead and move on to the quality version of Alan Wake 2. Similar here, you'll actually notice some other graphical tweaks as well on the pro version. So we're gonna reveal it in 3, 2, 1. The left side is the pro version, and then the right side is the amateur edition. The biggest addition here is the ray trace reflections on those reflective surfaces and all of that. You might have not even cared about it. You might have noticed it but not cared, but that's the difference. Here is Fortnite, everybody's most favoritist realistic game that shows off all graphical capabilities. You can see some obvious detail when it comes to the reflections here, and that might sway you a little bit on that decision. Gonna reveal it in 3, 2, 1. The left side is the pro version and the right side is the amateur. And lastly, we have Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And this one is an odd ball. It's gonna be your rough thoughts. It's literally just standing still right here, and I think there's an obvious difference between the two. The right side is the pro version and the left side is the amateur edition. So out of all these 8 tests, how many did you get? Can you actually tell the difference between these games? Even if you did, was the pro version actually better than the amateur edition, especially for $700? You may ask, why are some of these games better or worse on the new PS5 Pro compared to the older one? Because basically what Sony's pitch is that you can get fidelity quality graphics at 60 FPS, and you don't really have to worry about the performance mode anymore, which kind of kills the decision of having to choose between modes, which I think is actually a very good selling point. Just the increased performance, the better upscaling and stuff makes it a much more achievable goal. But in reality, I thought it was super weird. This didn't get simpler on the PS5 Pro. Actually, a lot of the games out there have 4 or 5 plus quality modes, graphics modes that are in the game, and it's just a lot of settings, especially for a console, and it's starting to make console honestly look a lot more like PC at this point. I don't know how they managed to make this more confusing than it should have been. But honestly, what makes it worse on the PS5 Pro is that the performance of this new console, this new $700 Wi-Fi router thing, it still doesn't have enough performance. Like in Alan Wake 2, for example, they chose to up the graphics quality because they have more graphics horsepower on the console. And now Performance Pro mode of the game actually gets worse performance than the base model of it. And then the graphics settings that they've increased, you can't even tell what they did a lot of the time, at least for most people. I don't think most people would care. On the PS5 Pro, they still allow you to play at 30 FPS for some reason. I don't even understand why. Just eliminate this. Make things less confusing for consumers, because honestly, a lot of people that pick up a console don't know what the hell they're looking at. They managed to mess that up. Now, this does come down to the game developer. Like Alan Wake 2 is made by Remedy Studios. They can just kind of take what they will with the hardware that the console is offering them. So it's all up to the devs. Silent Hill 2 got a PS5 Pro patch. It is just worse. A lot of the time, other than maybe smoothing out the frame rate sometimes, the game can just be worse. There's still a 30 FPS mode as well. Just eliminate that mode. I don't understand really why it's there anymore. In Stellar Blade, for some reason, they confuse people even more because there's a Pro Max mode in the game, which would make you think that it's the best mode to use on the PS5 Pro, but it's actually not the best one to use because it runs at less than 60 FPS on the Pro, and it's actually lower quality than the normal Pro mode because the normal Pro mode uses PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution PSSR. It's better than that native 4K resolution on the Pro Max mode, which just makes this even more confusing for people. Like, why even make that mode? Why make a mode? Why aren't you getting 60 FPS on the console? Like, most people don't even know if their games are being upscaled, with the normal Pro mode. And if it looks better, then just make that the default mode. I don't understand why this is even here. Horizon Forbidden West still allows you to play at 30 FPS in the game on the Pro Max. Just why is that setting even there? It doesn't make sense. Then there's other games like Elden Ring that I think has had a Pro patch, but I'm not even 100% sure. What the bro? Why is Elden Ring still not hitting 60 FPS on the Pro console? Is this because Sony didn't upgrade the CPU on the PS5 Pro really at all, and that this could just be CPU limited, not even GPU limited? Because if you compare it to a PC, 6800 should be slower than the PS5 Pro. You can see that it can achieve 60 FPS perfectly fine, but the Elden Ring on the PS5 Pro just is not really getting that much better frame rate. Then Cyberpunk as well with CPU limitations. Even if the GPU on the PS5 Pro is so much faster, that doesn't really matter because the CPU isn't that much faster. So if you're CPU limited in a game, you're not going to see literally any performance increase whatsoever. But that's just the performance side of it. Like, Sony couldn't even do that. Now we got to talk about the ray tracing. The PlayStation 5 Pro is supposed to offer better ray tracing, which should graphically make games look better, if you can even tell. And that's one of the big things with it, is a lot of people still can't tell. Let me just show you this clip from SkillUp that I think perfectly describes ray tracing.
Spider-Man 2 on the Pro supports ray tracing while playing at 60 FPS, and that sounds impressive, but the base PS5 did that too. And so, for whatever reason, Insomniac have added a new ray tracing mode to the PS5 Pro that somehow gives you better ray tracing that honestly I couldn't even really see the difference. But it knocks your game down to 30 FPS. Hogwarts Legacy also gets a fidelity ray tracing mode here on the PS5 Pro. As you can see, it makes the floor really shiny at half the FPS. You're capped at 30 in this mode compared to the regular 60.
Because ray tracing still decreases your FPS in the game. Just because they upgraded the ray tracing on the PS5 Pro doesn't mean ray tracing is suddenly not stupid demanding. And even in Alan Wake 2, the ray tracing could just look awful. You see here that the floor in here just, why is it looks all like it's crawling and gross. Like, that's ray tracing. Ray tracing is doing that. I think it looks so much worse. And Alan Wake 2 only integrates ray traced reflections, whereas on PC you can do all kinds of different ray tracing in this game that you can take advantage of, and it clearly looks so much better on PC. But on the PlayStation 5 Pro, apparently this is supposed to be an upgrade with ray tracing to the graphics, and it quite a bit of the time looks worse, or a lot of the time it's kind of unnoticeable to the average person. And then the ray tracing compounds with that CPU problem. They didn't upgrade the CPU on the PS5 Pro, probably architecturally for different reasons with the console, but we don't need to get into that. And ray tracing actually increases the CPU load of most games. Not every game, and usually you'll get GPU limited first, but CPU definitely holds back the PS5 Pro. I think that's why a lot of the times too, when you turn on ray tracing, say like in Hogwarts Legacy, that you still get capped at 30 FPS. Maybe we'll see some more games take advantage of it in the future, but I don't really even know what those games would be on the PS5 Pro. I don't see many new games coming out. At the end of the day, with ray tracing, even with the Pro console, you just mostly are gonna end up turning it off. Really resides to about the same spot we are at on PC gaming. Honestly, unless you're taking screenshots, most people are turning ray tracing off. It's nice eye candy, but when you actually go to play the game, I would rather have double the frame rate than use ray tracing because it's just so freaking demanding. And now, probably the biggest disappointment with the PS5 Pro is PSSR. Sony's AI upscaler that's supposed to be, theoretically comparable to like DLSS on PC. But what I can tell you is it is nowhere close to DLSS on PC. Because in a lot of these games that are launching with PSSR upscaling, they only like half the time actually look better than the old upscaling solutions in the games. Sometimes they look worse. There is some cases, say in like Stellar Blade, where it genuinely is a massive improvement to use Pisser in it, because the old implementation of upscaling and anti-aliasing, honestly, before in the game was just not that good. Pisser just makes it look a lot better. But Pisser has this really weird effect in a lot of games. If you just stand still, saying like Alan Wake 2 here, compared to FSR, which is AMD's upscaler that doesn't use AI at all. On Pisser, there's like this like film grain effect. Like there's noise just there every single time you use PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. I didn't think this is how it was going to go. Honestly, I thought Pisser was going to be the most exciting part about the PS5 Pro. But why does it look like this? This is in every single game having issues with that film grain effect. My best working theory of why we're getting this film grain effect in games might show that Sony doesn't 100% know what they're doing with this, because obviously you train your AI model so it's adaptive to a lot of different situations. I honestly think they just trained it with film grain on. Film grain should be added after the upscaling so it doesn't get this weird effect. I think that's what happened, unless for some reason this is allowing them to overcome like issues with it or something. I'm not 100% sure. That's my best running theory, and if that is true, then that is just freaking embarrassing on Sony's part. Like that launch should be fumbled as hard as Concord. And then there's other issues with Pisser. If you go into some games, there's just actual anomalies with the graphics that genuinely look worse, like despite the film grain effect. Like in Silent Hill 2, the model for Pisser is just not advanced enough, and when it's trying to reconstruct the image for the upscale, it genuinely just looks worse. Like Pisser just looks like a buggy freaking mess. And honestly, a lot of the times, actually playing Silent Hill 2 before the PS5 Pro patch looks like it was a better way to play the game. It actually locked 60 FPS all the time, and you didn't have to use PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, which looks objectively worse in this game. It isn't all bad with PSSR. There is some games where it is good. I mentioned Stellar Blade a little bit ago. Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, I think genuinely do look better with PSSR on them. There's a lot more detail reconstructed. Like if you see like the grass here, genuinely does look better on PSSR. Also, things are just less pixelated and there's less ghosting with it. A lot of artifacts that come with upscaling that just looks better on this new one. Then also in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the game looks so much better PSSR on it. Like the old upscaling in the game, I think just looked terrible. It was very blurry. It didn't really enhance the detail at all. But with PSSR, it looks like it's actually reconstructing up to 4K. The game looks so much better with it. Like it genuinely looks so much better. But that is one of the rare games where it's a huge improvement. Another thing to note with PSSR, and this is making an assumption, this is buying into a promise, which you shouldn't really buy into a promise. If it is anything like the ones that are on PC, the AI models like DLSS or even Intel's XeSS that are both built on machine learning, those models have improved over time so that they can make games look better. Over time, it's definitely possible that Sony could improve PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, very, very long name. But that means that devs would also have to go back and update their games or replace the PSSR file in the game to improve the upscaling. It could also improve performance as well. We've seen that with DLSS. It runs a lot better now. But man, I don't know how probably the easiest layup that would be in this, because so many games rely on upscaling nowadays, especially on console. A lot of Unreal Engine 5 games upscale from less than 1080p and go up to 4K. And this would be the easiest layup just to make a much better upscaler with the Pro model. And I don't know how Sony has messed this thing up. So the PS5 Pro has been out for a few weeks. I kind of wanted to take a look at some stores and see if they're still sitting on shelves. Let's go. To note too, this is actually the day after Black Friday, so if anything, these should be sold out. So first store, they didn't even have PS5 Pros. I don't know what that means. They weren't on sale at all. And this has been out for a few weeks now. Now I'm gonna head to Walmart and see if they have them at Walmart. They're still sitting on shelves in there. They're $700, and then there's another model there that was $375. $375 was insane. That's an insane deal, and you just never buy the PS5 Pro at $700. Is insane. Let's go ahead and hit up Best Buy now. There was just no PlayStations at all. Not as the day after Black Friday. I did find a spot where they were selling them on the shelf, but their display in the back, there was nothing there. There was no even sign to buy any PlayStations at all, which is just odd. But I did talk to one of the guys there, and they said that they do have them in stock. The PlayStation 5 Pro is in stock. Probably should have asked the price difference. I'll go ahead and show it on screen here if I can just look that up. They're in stock though, even after Black Friday at Best Buy of all places. And now that we've gone to the stores, we can check online to see how it really does shape up. The PlayStation 5 Pro console on Amazon, you can see that's 10,000 bought in the past month, which is actually a pretty decent amount of units, especially compared to what I was seeing in the stores. When you compare it to the PlayStation 5 console, this one is bundled with Fortnite. I guess they bundle skins with the game. I don't really know. But this one is the #1 bestseller in terms of PlayStation 5. You could just have to take my word for it. I didn't take a screenshot of it. And then yesterday I saw that it actually said 40,000 units bought on the PlayStation 5 Slim. I think it was a Slim model, which means that the base PS5, especially given the price and everything, was outselling the PS5 Pro 4-1, which is kind of nuts. So at the end of the day, you're paying $700 for the PS5 Pro. And honestly, like we saw, if you go to the store, you can get a normal PS5 for $375, which is almost half the price. And then if you actually want a disc drive for this Pro console, that's going to cost you almost $800. And this doesn't even mention other areas of the world that can cost so much more. You might think, oh, who cares about a disc drive? But that's genuinely very important. I was at the store looking at that stuff, and man, like a lot of the games are very cheap if you get them as a disc and you actually own the copy of the game. Sometimes the whole game isn't actually on the disc, or there's a day one patch as well. But like if you don't factor in that, a lot of these games are so much cheaper if you actually buy them on the disc form, and you can lend them to your friends and stuff. But if you have to use a digital only edition, then Sony is going to make more money out of you by forcing you to spend money on games in their store online, where they can control the entire market. So not having a disc drive on a Pro $700 console is just mind-boggling. And on top of the PS5 Pro costing this much, there just isn't really any games that look like they're going to take advantage of it. And honestly, this just screams to me more and more where consoles are going into the future. How much better it'd probably be just to get a PC nowadays. Like, obviously, I'm a huge PC channel. I have like a bunch of graphics cards behind me here. I love PC. I went to it a long time ago, and I've never regretted it since. You might think that it costs a ton more to go to PC, but when you're paying $700 to $800 for a PS5 Pro console, you can get a very comparable, solid PC for the same price, and it can do everything that a PlayStation can do, plus more. Most of these games are going to be coming to PC anyways. Sony has already planned and confirmed that they're doing a 1-year release window to PC. They're going to be porting their games to the platform. I'm getting very excited for Stellar Blade. Can't wait till that's on PC. We just look at my Steam library, we can see how many Sony games I have. These are all my games, my favorited ones, and you can see a lot of them aren't downloaded because this isn't actually the PC I play games on. I'm pretty sure so Last of Us is Sony, Horizon is Sony. If I had Final Fantasy, that was also Sony. Ratchet and Clank is Sony. Whereas Marvel's Spider-Man remastered, this Spider-Man game was Sony. So even there, you can just see how quite a few games that I own are from Sony anyways, and they're good games. You can play them on PC. A lot of them are ported very well. You could also get like Helldivers 2 and stuff on PC. I don't really see a huge disadvantage for PC. Plus on PC, you also get the whole Xbox library as well, and you can even get Game Pass. And you can upgrade your PC as you go in the future. Yes, there are some advantages to being on console, like having a nice, tight, closed ecosystem, but at the same time, the benefits of PC gaming is just, what is the future of console? I don't even really know. I just think by the sales of it, the price of the PS5 Pro, I think they had to price the PS5 Pro a lot higher because Sony's not really doing that well right now. So it's not that they're trying to price gouge, but they couldn't really even make that good of a console, so they couldn't justify making it cheaper to sell at high volume and stuff like they did with the PS4 Pro. So let me know what you think about the PS5 Pro. I don't think it's a very good system, and I think many people who have been able to check it out so far also think the same thing. The consumer reception and people actually buying it is not that good. Somehow they made this launch go worse than what we thought it was going to go. Like the marketing and the selling points of this console would be like, oh, always get 60 FPS. And for some reason, you can't always get 60 FPS in games. I don't understand why this really even exists. Just get the base PS5 if you're after a console. I mean, that thing is $375. It doesn't have a disk drive though, but neither does the PS5 Pro. So that doesn't really matter. All right, let me know what you think though. Does this just push you to go to PC gaming anyways? That's what happened to me a long time ago. But I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Y'all have a good one, and peace.